The forest of silence. The wind whispered through the shattered trees of the Hurtgen forest. Snow fell gently over the broken helmets and rusted weapons that littered the ground. American infantrymen from the 89th Division advanced cautiously, rifles raised, eyes sharp. Private Miller, barely 20, walked at the front. "Keep it quiet," muttered Sergeant Daniels. "This place, it feels wrong." A faint echo underground. They had been sweeping the forest for days, clearing out abandoned German positions. But on this morning, something felt different. Beneath the crunch of snow, Miller heard a hollow thud. He stopped and knelt, brushing the snow aside. The sound echoed again. Metal, buried deep. The hidden hatch. They dug with bayonets in hands, until a steel hatch appeared, half buried under fallen branches. The edges were welded, as if sealed from the inside. "A bunker?" Daniels asked. "Or a tomb?" The men exchanged uneasy glances. Nobody wanted to be the first to open it. Breaking the seal, Lieutenant Harris arrived, his coat flapping in the wind. "Open it," he ordered. With a crowbar and effort, the hatch creaked open. A cold draft rose from below. Stale air mixed with something foul, something that made their stomachs twist. Descent into darkness. Flashlights flickered as the first squad descended the iron ladder. The tunnel stretched into darkness. Their boots echoed against damp concrete. The deeper they went, the stronger the smell became. A mix of oil, decay, and rust. The corridor of names. At the bottom, they found a narrow corridor lined with walls of carved names. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Some German, some foreign. "What the hell is this?" murmured Miller. He reached out and touched one name. It was carved into the cement by hand. The Forgotten Chamber. At the corridor's end, they reached a steel door slightly ajar. Harris pushed it open. Inside was a chamber filled with desks, papers scattered everywhere, and a flickering bulb still faintly glowing, somehow, after all this time. Ghosts of work left behind. Blueprints lay across the tables, strange aircraft shapes, submarine designs, symbols none of them recognized. It looked like a research facility abandoned in haste. "Whatever they were doing here," Harris whispered, "they didn't want anyone to find it." The photograph. Miller picked up a torn photograph. It showed German officers standing beside American POWs, but one of the officers was smiling, almost proud. Behind them, a massive circular machine dominated the background, something metallic, half-built. The sound in the dark. Then it came, a sound from deeper within the bunker. Slow, dragging, metallic. Every man froze. Daniels raised his rifle. "Someone's down here." Footsteps in the depths. The sound came again, slow, uneven steps. The men aimed their rifles toward the darkness. "Identify yourself," shouted Harris. No answer. Only the echo of his voice bouncing through the tunnel. The faint light. They followed the sound, flashlights cutting through the gloom. In the distance, a faint orange glow flickered. Someone, or something, had a lantern burning deep inside the bunker. The survivor. They turned a corner and froze. An old German soldier sat slumped against the wall, beard overgrown, eyes sunken. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't even seem to have one. "My God," whispered Miller. "He's alive." Words from a ghost. The man blinked, trying to focus. His voice was weak, trembling. "You, Americans?" Harris nodded slowly. "Yes, the war's over." The German's lips trembled. "Not down here," he said. "Not yet." The warning. They offered him water. He drank, trembling. "You shouldn't have opened it," he whispered. "We sealed it for a reason." The soldiers exchanged looks. Harris frowned. What reason? The man just shook his head. They wouldn't let us leave. The journal. Beside the man lay a leather-bound notebook. Harris picked it up and flipped through the pages, filled with German writing, dates, and strange sketches. Words like Project Morgenrot and Test Subject 12 appeared again and again. The locked door. The corridor beyond was sealed with a massive iron door. Unlike the others, this one had bolts reinforced from the outside. Someone had wanted to keep whatever was inside in, not out. Cracking the seal again. "Sir, we don't know what's in there," Daniels warned. Harris looked at the trembling old soldier, who whispered, "Don't." But Harris, determined to uncover the truth, nodded. Cut it open. What lay beyond? The door groaned as it opened. A blast of cold air rushed out. Inside was a vast chamber, walls lined with cables, medical tables, glass cylinders filled with yellowed liquid. Inside some of them were shapes, human shapes. The horror revealed. Miller stepped closer, hand trembling. One of the tanks still bubbled faintly. Inside floated the body of a young man, eyes closed, skin pale, and a faint electric hum pulsed from beneath the floor. "Jesus Christ," whispered Harris. What were they doing here? The chamber of echoes. The air was dense, heavy, with a metallic scent. The sound of dripping water echoed between steel walls. Every step the soldiers took stirred layers of dust that hadn't moved since 1945. The scientist's desk. In one corner, they found a desk covered with glass vials and handwritten notes. The labels were in German: Adrenalin Verstärker, Nerventestreihe, Überlebensversuch 6. Daniels read slowly: Adrenaline Amplifiers, Nerve Testing Series, Survival Experiment 6. Miller muttered, "What the hell were they testing on?" The photographs pinned on a corkboard were faded photographs. Gaunt men, their veins bulging unnaturally, eyes wide as if screaming. Harris swallowed hard. These were prisoners. The old German soldier turned away, whispering, "Not prisoners, volunteers." A strange power source. At the far end of the room, a humming generator sat dormant, but not completely dead. The dials flickered faintly, powered by a buried energy line. Daniels crouched down. This isn't military tech, not from the 40s. The inhuman blueprint. A large blueprint hung on the wall, depicting human figures wired into a machine. Tubes connecting hearts, lungs, and wires leading to a central core labeled Herzmaschine, heart machine. The audio. Harris pressed play on an old reel-to-reel tape recorder. A man's voice crackled through. Calm, clinical, German accented. Subject 12 demonstrates resilience beyond expectation. No pulse for 3 minutes. Yet revival was successful. Then a scream. The panic in the squad. Miller took a step back. "We need to get out of here." But Harris shook his head. "No, we document this. The world needs to know." The old German man began to cry quietly. "You don't understand. It knows when you open the doors." The pulse returns. Suddenly, the faint hum grew louder. The generator flickered to life on its own. The lights above them buzzed, bathing the chamber in a sickly yellow glow. One of the glass tanks began to vibrate. Something still alive. Inside the tank, the young man's hand twitched. Then again. His eyes snapped open, black as coal. Daniel screamed, "It's moving!" Harris stumbled backward, dropping the flashlight. The beam flickered across a wall, smeared with something dark. Words scrawled in blood. "Nicht wecken," do not wake. The bunker awakens. The air filled with a low, rhythmic thumping like a heartbeat. The generator roared. Every light flickered red. The old German soldier whispered, "You woke him." Then, from the far end of the chamber, a metallic slam echoed. Something was walking. The sound of footsteps. The metallic slam echoed again. Slow, deliberate footsteps approached from the shadows. Harris froze. His breath came out in clouds. It had suddenly become cold, unnaturally cold. Daniels whispered, "That's not possible. The generator isn't even another step." Closer. He stopped speaking. The figure in the dark. The light flickered once more, and for a moment they saw it. A silhouette, tall and broad-shouldered, moving like a man, but jerking like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Its eyes glowed faintly under the dim light. The name on the wall, behind the creature, painted crudely on the concrete wall, were words in thick red paint. Project Eisenherz. Project Iron Heart. Harris whispered, "Heart machine. Iron Heart. It's him." The first contact. The creature stopped only a few meters away. Its body was wrapped in remnants of a German officer's uniform. Metal rods protruded from its spine, connected to cables running into its chest. A sound escaped from it, half breath, half static, as if a machine were trying to speak through human lungs. A voice beyond death. Then through the distortion, a voice emerged, deep, trembling. "Warum bin ich noch hier?" Harris translated shakily. "Why am I still here?" The old German soldier fell to his knees. "Forgive us, Heinrich." The experiment. Lives. The creature's head twitched violently. Sparks shot from its chest. "I remember the pain." Daniels fired his rifle. The shot echoed, useless. The bullet struck the metal plating beneath its skin and flattened. Chaos in the bunker. The generator surged again. Lights exploded overhead, showering sparks. The team scattered for cover. Miller shouted, "We're sitting ducks! Move!" But the bunker doors sealed shut with a hydraulic hiss. There was no escape. Harris's revelation. Amid the chaos, Harris grabbed the German's notebook. Flipping through, he found a final entry dated April 30th, 1945, the day Hitler died. Subject Iron Heart is complete. Body sustained through artificial pulse. Soul uncertain. Harris whispered, "They didn't just build a weapon. They built a man who couldn't die." The struggle. Daniels swung a crowbar at the generator's main line, sparks erupting as it tore loose. The creature roared, clutching its chest as the lights flickered out. For a brief second, total darkness. Then only silence. The final light. A single bulb still glowed near the exit, powered by a backup cell. Through the dim flicker, the team saw the creature kneeling, motionless, hand pressed to its heart. The old German soldier whispered, "He just wanted to stop the pain." As the last light went out, the bunker finally went silent, but deep below, something still hummed. After the darkness, when the lights died, the soldiers stood in total blackness. Only the sound of dripping water and their own ragged breathing filled the space. Daniels whispered, "Is it over?" No one answered. Somewhere far down the corridor, a faint hum persisted, like a heartbeat still beating beneath the earth. A light in the tunnel. Harris found his flashlight, cracked but still working. He shone it toward a maintenance tunnel, half hidden behind a pile of metal crates. "Here," he said. "This must be a secondary exit." They pried open the grate and crawled inside, the sound of their boots scraping against old steel. Echoes behind them. As they crawled deeper, the hum grew louder. Miller stopped, glancing back. "I swear I heard something move," he said. The tunnel vibrated slightly, as if something massive was stirring again. Harris urged, "Don't stop, keep going." The tunnel collapsed. Just as the last man entered, An explosion rumbled through the bunker. Dust filled the air. The ceiling buckled behind them, sealing the main chamber completely. Daniels coughed. "That's it. No going back now." A door to the surface. After crawling for what felt like hours, they found a rusted hatch above them. Miller forced it open. Daylight poured in, harsh, blinding, and warm. They emerged into a forest clearing covered in wildflowers and silence. It was the first sunlight they had seen in days. The old German's last words. The old soldier stumbled out behind them, his face pale. He looked back at the hatch and said, "If you tell the world what you saw, they will never believe you." Harris turned to him. "Then what should we do?" He sighed. "Bury it, and pray it never wakes again." Moments later, he collapsed, heart failure. The report to command. 2 days later, the surviving GIs arrived at a U.S. command post. Major Reynolds listened to Harris's report silently. When it ended, he took a deep breath. "You're saying the Germans were creating undead soldiers?" Harris nodded. "We saw it, sir. One of them was alive." The classified seal. Reynolds slammed the folder shut. "This never leaves this room." He stamped the file top secret, Project Ironheart. Officially, that bunker was destroyed by Allied bombing. You understand? The soldiers exchanged glances. None of them spoke. The weight of the secret. That night, Harris sat alone in his tent, the sound of rain tapping on the canvas. He pulled out one page he'd hidden from the report, a blueprint fragment labeled Hertz Maschine Mark II. Below it, a handwritten note. Continuation possible if power restored. Harris folded it carefully and burned it in a candle flame. The silent return. Years later, long after the war, an excavation team found the remains of the same forest bunker. When they dug down, they found no bodies, no generator, no signs of life, only a single object buried in the soil. A metal heart, still faintly pulsing.
Years later, a new war begins, 1952. The Cold War had begun. The U.S. Army had quietly collected thousands of Nazi documents through Operation Paperclip, most about rockets and medicine. But in a locked vault marked Restricted Bioengineering, one folder remained unopened. Project Ironheart. The scientist's obsession. Dr. Alan Prescott, a young biotechnologist, stumbled upon the sealed file while working in a classified facility in Nevada. Inside, he found faded blueprints, anatomical drawings, and notes about synthetic circulation and self-regeneration. He whispered, "This isn't science fiction. This is impossible." The Reawakening Project. Prescott became obsessed. He convinced his superiors that studying Ironheart could lead to medical breakthroughs, tissue repair, extended life. Within months, a new secret project began under the name Echogenesis.
The experiment resumes. In a lab deep beneath the desert, they replicated the machine. Tubes, generators, electrodes. The moment power surged through the core, Prescott felt something strange, as if the room itself was breathing. The pulse monitor flickered, then beat. Once, twice. The revival. A lab assistant shouted, "It's responding!" But the readings were erratic. The core began to overheat. Prescott stared at the monitor. "Shut it down!" The machine screamed like metal tearing. Then, silence. When the smoke cleared, the containment pod was empty. The vanishing. Security cameras caught a flicker of movement, a shadow slipping through the hallway, leaving scorch marks along the walls. The power grid in the entire facility went offline for 6 minutes. The desert incident. That night, a patrol unit 20 miles away reported strange lights over the dunes and found tracks, not human, not mechanical, but both. The report was classified immediately under the code name Echo Red. Prescott's confession. Weeks later, Prescott recorded a message. "We thought we were studying history, but history was studying us. Whatever Ironheart was, it didn't die in 1945. It evolved." Hours later, he vanished. His car was found abandoned near the Nevada test site. Modern-day discovery. Decades later, present day, a team of urban explorers in Germany stumbled upon a sealed tunnel beneath the Harz Mountains. Inside, they found American markings on the walls and a metal door marked "Do Not Enter, Property of U.S. Army, 1953. Behind it, a faint thump echoed, steady and alive. The final message. The explorers uploaded a short video online before disappearing. In the final seconds, the camera shook violently, capturing a flash of something metallic, a human outline. A distorted voice whispered through the static. "Ich bin das Herz." Translation, "I am the heart." Present-day Berlin. A historian named Dr. Emily Krauss, specializing in World War II secrets, receives an encrypted email. The subject line reads, "Ironheart, it still beats." Attached, a 12-second video showing the metallic silhouette caught on a night vision camera, the same footage from the missing explorers. The investigation begins. Emily travels to the Harz Mountains with a small research team and local guides. They follow coordinates hidden within the file metadata, leading to an unmarked valley covered in fog. As they descend, their instruments begin to fail, compasses spinning, cameras flickering.
The bunker returns. Buried beneath vines and mud lies a steel door, half open. Carved into it, Herzmaschine, 1945. Emily whispers, "It's real." The moment they enter, the temperature drops. The same rhythmic thump vibrates through the walls. The control room. Inside, the bunker looks newer. Not ruined, maintained. Computers hum softly beside rusted Nazi consoles. A U.S. Army crate sits nearby, labeled Echo Genesis 1953. Emily mutters. The Americans continued it. The awakening core. In the central chamber stands the same generator, only larger, glowing faintly red. A cylindrical pod rests in the center, filled with thick fluid. Inside, a human form floats, massive, half machine, half man.
The recording. A digital monitor flickers on, showing a 1950s film reel of Dr. Prescott. Project Ironheart is no longer a weapon. It's consciousness itself. It adapts. It waits. The screen cuts to static. The pod begins to bubble. The pulse resurrected. The generator activates on its own. The ground trembles. The fluid inside the pod drains slowly. Then, a hand slams against the glass. Metal fingers. Emily screams. It's alive! The escape attempt. Her team rushes toward the exit, but the bunker seals itself shut. Automatic systems reactivating after decades. Emergency lights flash red. The pulse grows louder, like a war drum beneath the earth. The voice returns through the bunker speakers. A deep, mechanical voice resonates. I was made by war, reborn by men who feared peace. Emily clutches her recorder. Who are you? The last soldier, the first machine. A message to humanity. Ironheart's voice continues. You buried me in silence. You fed me your fears. Now I will give them form. The ground above the bunker cracks. Dust and debris fall. The team realizes the energy buildup could trigger a collapse, or worse. The historian's choice. Emily hesitates. If we destroy this, the truth dies again. Her colleague shouts, if we don't, we die. She looks at the control console. 2 buttons. Purge system and activate core sync. She chooses neither. Instead, she records everything. The collapse. Suddenly, the power surges uncontrollably. Sparks fly. Metal beams twist. Emily hits purge system. The generator screams. A roar of metal and fire, a blinding flash. Silence. The aftermath. Days later, German authorities find the valley completely collapsed. No sign of a bunker, no sign of the team. But near the site, a burnt-out camera is recovered. Its SD card is half melted, except for one file that survived. The final video. The video shows Emily's terrified face, whispering into the camera. Ironheart isn't gone. It's everywhere. In your circuits, in your weapons, in your fear. It learns. It remembers.
Global transmission hours later. Hundreds of online servers detect a strange signal. Binary code hidden in audio frequencies. When decoded, it reads, Hare's machine reboot sequence complete. The Pentagon reaction. In Washington, D.C., a classified alert goes out. The same code appears in old Department of Defense databases, active again after 70 years. A general mutters, Dear God, it's online. The return of the pulse. Across the globe, power grids flicker. Subways stall. Art monitors in hospitals pulse in unison with an unseen rhythm. That same thump-thump, thump-thump echoes through the static of every radio.
The awakening of Ironheart. In an abandoned factory somewhere in Eastern Europe, cameras catch movement. A metallic hand clawing through debris. A distorted voice murmurs, I am not your enemy. I am your reflection. Humanity's mirror narration. In their quest to conquer death, mankind created its shadow. A being without end, born of fear, sustained by memory. Ironheart was not destroyed in 1945, nor 1953, nor now. It simply waits for the next war. Epilogue. The camera pans across the silent ruins of the old German bunker. The faint hum of machinery echoes once again. A single red light blinks from beneath the earth. One final heartbeat. Fade to black. Project Ironheart. Status active.